Hey everybody! I've been playing a whole lot of Deathloop whenever I can find the time lately, and I gotta say, I'm having a kick-centric ball with it. For those of you that somehow have no idea what Deathloop is, it's a AAA Immersive Sim recently launched by Immersive dev house Arkane, particularly Arkane Leon, where you play as a dude trapped in the ultra-violence version of Groundhog Day, and you're the only one that seems to be wanting to break out of the loop. This goes as far as literally everyone else attempting to stop you from breaking the time loop, including Juliana, who will Dark Souls invade your world and mock you over the radio. So if you haven't got the idea already by looking at the thumbnail and runtime, this is going to be more of a quick first impressions kind of video more than the final video, which will come out hopefully by the end of the year once I've had some time to really get some playtime in. I've only had about enough time to get 6 to 8 hours into Deathloop right about now, as while I'm having a blast, I'm nowhere near done because I gotta make all the videos for Indie Ween. These are just my initial thoughts on the game, and me reminding you to go out and get this if you have the cash handy so that we can support AAA devs making immersive sims instead of crappy looter shooters. A couple more things before we get into it. First, I'm having an issue where several indie devs I'm in communications with are having issues contacting me because I'm terrible at getting back to my emails, sorry developers, and also they didn't even realize I have a Twitter. This is my Twitter. Go follow me if you wanna on the worst website on the internet for garbage takes about everything so that people in the sphere of indie dev realize I'm in a more accessible area. Thank you. Secondly, I am absolutely tickled by seeing a lot of the Doom fans complain about having trouble getting things done in Deathloop, and it is taking all of my willpower not to tell them that maybe it's time for them to get good. Obviously, it's not every last one of them, but the irony I am feeling here is palpable. I'm probably going to get much more into the differences between skill sets in the full-on video I do on Deathloop later on in the year, but for now, I'll just leave it at me snickering at my desk and seeing the salty tweets. As far as the core gameplay goes, as far as I've gotten into the game, it's a whole lot of fun. Go as fast or as slow as you wanna, and you're given a lot of opportunities to mix it up before you even get any of the slab powers, which is what Deathloop calls its neuromods, outsider abilities, etc. You get a pretty straightforward smattering of guns that you can find and some pretty straightforward modifiers for them, and you'll be able to get some ability thingies which are kind of like slabs but not really, such as a very, very handy double jump or the ability to hack things at a range where you hardly ever have to enter combat yourself. By the way, hacking is just holding down a button to hack the thing, and for the most part it's just take over a turret, disable this camera, or have a thing make a loud noise to lure people away, which I don't mind at all. I am very averse to elaborate hacking mini games that you need to do in order to do certain things. You'll also need it to hack into certain things to stop invasions or at least escape them, but outside of that, if you really wanted to, you can go the entire game without hacking if that's your thing. As far as mechanics and gimmicks goes, Deathloop feels like an all-star lineup of all the things Arkane has made in previous games. The turrets and pistols feel almost exactly like they did in Prey. Using most of your abilities have big Dishonored energy between the slabs and the personal body mods, and those kicks are straight out of Dark Messiah. I'm not complaining about this at all, by the way. If anything, I think it's great that Arkane has combined all the things that they've really nailed down over the last 15 years to make a rock-solid set of core gameplay mechanics that they built everything else on top of. Movement and level design are awesome too. Colt is fun to control and does what you want him to do every time, and the few times that I've whiffed something, it was entirely in my own fault. Levels are built out to the point that I've hardly found any invisible walls, and there are a million ways to get to about any point on the 4 major maps. It's all the fun of jumping around on rooftops in Dishonored with Prey's verticality. Colt also moves as fast as you'd expect him to run, and when you need to bail out of a fight because it's going badly, with all the modifiers installed plus the blink ability, you can cover an absurd amount of ground really fast when you need to. Lastly, just because I love it so much, the Dark Messiah kick is back and it is the best thing ever. Kicking someone off a cliff is never not the best thing ever, and I will intentionally go out of my way to do far from optimal combat in order to kick more dudes into the great beyond. Even if they don't fall off the map entirely, there's the added hilarity of hearing people down on the lower parts of the level suddenly freak out because some dude just went splat 10 feet away from them. Bonus fun comes from the body-based abilities that increase the kick power even more so you can kick people hard enough for them to get some airtime even when it's not off a ledge. Oh yeah, and you also get an ability that's essentially a telekinetic mega kick. It's not quite on the level of Cruelty Squad's enhanced kicks, but it is certainly something, and it is never not a good time. And yeah, Obviously, this is an ImSim that has big ImSim energy. There's no one way to do anything, and you're encouraged to do things in elaborate and unorthodox manners. So far, there's not a whole lot of ventilation shafts in the maps I've explored, but I have found a lot of backdoors, open windows, and skylights, and alternate means of getting to places that make each run your own. Lately, I'm a big fan of the Silent Predator approach, where I'm stealthily eliminating everyone in an area one by one before going in for the visionary kill, because that way I don't have to worry about backup arriving in case the kill isn't as clean as I wanted it to, or worry about how I'm gonna get out after I sneak in. Stealth and loud aren't your only options though. As you play loop to loop, you'll get more leads on what the visionaries are up to during the looping day, and you'll have some fun ways to kill people. Otto can be found wherever throughout the day, but he sure does love his fireworks supply, and that could be exploitable. You could stealthily kill Dr. Wenji and all her clones one by one, or you could figure out what the code is for her sterilization protocol in the event that you get into her lab and just trigger it to get it done all at once. Or even better, if you can't be bothered to hunt down the code, well, you do have 2-3 deaths before you get the day restarted, so why not just run into her lab, intentionally trigger the protocol, and then when you respawn, most of the Wenjis are taken care of due to the sterilization. Arkane thought of a whole lot of ways to kill each and every one of these visionary folks, and all of them are a whole lot of fun. Not sure which of all these methods to take out the visionaries you want to do? Well, it's a good thing the game resets itself every day, so you can try each and every one of those ways to see which is the most efficient or which is the most fun. I usually find that with most immersive sims, once I get into one build or style of play, I'll rarely stray from playing it like that, but thanks to the game essentially resetting every time you don't get to the end game, that means that if you want to experiment with a new playstyle, you can totally do that. Go for a run and shotgun approach to lurk and snipe. Go for all slab abilities to none. The resets means that you can learn about each and every way of play without having to worry about being behind the 8 ball in the late game, as the late game doesn't initiate until you trigger it. We'll talk about a side effect of that in a sec though. For now though, the ability perks and weapon mods you can pick to pick off enemies can make for a wildly varied playstyle. You think piercing shots on a sniper is fun? Well, what if we put it on the auto shotty? Harken back to the days of System Shock 2 and equip all the possible speed mods you can find to run really fast. The perk system is made for cheesing, and this game is your bougie supermarket deli section, except you don't have to deal with pretentious losers living off someone else's money, but you're just trying to grab a wheel of brie and some puff pastry for Thanksgiving this year. Lastly, for that ImSim feel, unfortunately, due to how the looping system works, this game is a little too easy without player intervention. The game's difficulty scales off how many visionaries are killed in one sitting, meaning that it's very easy to intentionally kill only a minimal amount of visionaries each day for the purpose of grabbing and binding their slabs to you, and then take advantage of the low threat levels to farm residuum and look for high-end weapons and mods. I'm just now starting to actually try and kill all the visionaries at once, but I'm so kitted out that the increasing level of difficulty as you kill more and more of them is a non-issue. AI Juliana is a threat, but one that's mainly a really tanky character, and even if she eats rapier shots like they were single Rice Krispies in a bowl of cereal, you don't have to worry too much about her if you keep your distance high, or you just keep on baiting her into kill zones with turrets and mines. Now, I'm currently playing on coward mode, so I can get a feel for how the game plays without the enhancement of other human beings acting as your challenge, but something that I sussed out on Twitter with Taffer King, the developer of the upcoming ImSim Gloomwood, is that maybe Deathloop could do what Resident Evil 4 does with professional mode, where the adaptive difficulty is just cranked all the way to the top like you would if you were killing all the visionaries at once in a run by default, and there's no way to bring it down. The game is just at its hardest possible setting all the time for people like me that play a lot of ImSims and can't really play games like BioShock or Prey on anything lower than the hardest difficulty. Right now it kind of feels like you're playing Prey, except you start out with all the endgame stuff, making it a breeze to get through the bulk of the game. Y'all remembered to play Prey, right? The 2017 one? Now, as I said before, I'm nowhere near done with my first playthrough, so there's some things I haven't quite experienced yet. For starters, the whole of the story. I'm not quite sure what is happening yet or why things are like they are, but I have a few ideas. For one, I think it's very telling that no one has an exact number of loops that we're up to in the main game as of the start of the player's involvement in the story, and it's telling that a lot of folks are just doing the same thing over and over again without realizing that they've already done this in previous loops. Colt and Juliana seem to remember things day to day so far, but they're the only ones that seem to be doing so, and even then, they don't remember everything. And it's also telling that amnesia seems to be a major element of Deathloop's story. Secondly, there's a whole other side of this game, the protect the loop mode. I'm personally not getting into it just yet until I've mastered the base game, but I can see how it'd be a whole lot of fun invading other people's worlds. However, I haven't touched it yet outside of it being a thing I know about because, yeah, I want to make sure I can handle myself first before I go into other people's games. It does seem like a very cool way to extend the playtime of a primarily linear and single player game by letting you invade other people's games and wrecking their loop. Didn't some other Bethesda games say they were going to do something like that before releasing a half-baked multiplayer? Lastly, there's the known stuttering issues in the presence of the anti-piracy software de novo. I'm not at all surprised by this because this is a AAA single-player game that took a lot of time to make, so it's understandable that Bethesda wants to protect their investment, especially considering that the first few months of sales are vital for a game's success. There's little for this game to do for monetization, as far as I can tell, there are no microtransactions, and outside of the pre-order Super Consumer Edition, which I totally bought, by the way, that golden gun is stupid OP, Deathloop kind of relies on primary sales to make its money back and ensure that Arkane is going to make more Sims. And personally, I haven't experienced too much stuttering as I'm playing, and I am playing on a monster of a machine though, and I'm currently also using Shadowplay to record my footage as that has a minimal footprint on my processing power. I've got all the settings cranked all the way up according to GeForce Experience, but I'm also only playing at 1080p locked to 144 FPS via VSync. I haven't experienced much aside from a couple stray freeze-ups when things got a little intense, but nothing nearly like what some people are complaining about. As for power usage, the most I've seen Deathloop utilized on my RTX 3090 is 88% power for a couple moments, which oddly enough happens in menus, and based on recent issues with the 3090 on certain games, I think I'm gonna hard lock it to 60 because that's all I record at anyway. Also, before I went into GeForce Experience to turn all the cool toys and ray tracing on, I was at only 50 to 60% utilization at most, so likely all the power is going into those pretty shadows that we hardly notice when we're in the thick of combat. So first and foremost, closing thought on my impressions of Deathloop so far. Buy the game. This is the Sim we've been waiting for since, well, the last game Arkane put out, and if we want to see more AAA immersive sims, we gotta vote with our wallets. Yes, the de novo sucks, but it will probably be removed after a couple months, and Arkane has already said they're working on the stuttering issues as I record this. If this doesn't do well, we might find ourselves watching Arkane getting sent to whatever the Bethesda equivalent of the COD mines are, and thus immersive sims will fall entirely into the dominion of indies who keep telling us the game will be out next year. Look, I'm sorry indie Sim devs. I know this might sting, but holy moly, you've been giving me the same line since like 2019, and while I love the demos and vertical slices you put out, as well as all of your efforts to keep the genre, niche, whatever you will call it, alive, unfortunately the 3 delays rule applies to you guys too in the indie scene. 1 is understandable and reassuring about quality, 2 is a worry sign, 3 means it's time to drop all your expectations you had about the game. But if I had one suggestion to make beyond buying and playing the hell out of Deathloop, it's to leave a review on the Steam page if you liked it. Presently, Deathloop is sitting at a mixed review score because of people upset about the anti-piracy stuff and stuttering, which is their right. But again, I'm coming from the mindset that this is a AAA Sim and possibly the last one we're gonna get for who knows how long, as Bloodlines 2 is essentially dead in the water, System Shock 3 is in some sort of limbo, and personally I consider Night Dive more of a AA studio than a AAA, as it's more than an indie but definitely much less than a big budget studio. Still, don't do me dirty with this coming soon stuff. You guys said summer 2021. Outside of that though, that's gonna do it for this quickie of a video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I hope I've swayed you into picking up Deathloop if you haven't already. I'll see you all in the next video, but in the meantime, please stay safe, wear your sunscreen, wash your hands, wear your mask in public indoor settings in accordance to CDC guidelines, and enjoy this cat video. Oh, what is this? A box boy in his natural habitat. I'm sorry, you were just vibing in here, and then I came with the camera in your face. Would you like a scritch? Yes, I know, I have no daddy smells on me because I just showered. The smells will come eventually. Box boy. Can I be in the box too? I think there's enough space for both of us. Yeah, I'm just gonna get in here with you. It's my box now.